It's often said that each person's perception is what drives their reality. And I guess that's why I have such a passion for habitat management and wildlife conservation here on our farm. It wasn't that long ago that we did not have a huntable population of whitetail deer or wild turkeys here. As a kid, we would drive every Friday 4 hours to West Tennessee to go deer hunt. And then we would make the 4-hour trek back. We would do that 5, 6, 7 weekends during deer season, just in hopes of trying to kill something. Yeah, there were wildlife management areas to the north and to the west of us that had deer on them. But this gap here in between didn't have anything. The Smoky Mountains to my south had whitetail deer. This area here did not. I remember the days when the community would be abuzz whenever somebody would see a whitetail deer, or if one got hit on the road, people would be calling each other. Did you see there was a deer hit? Did you see there was a deer hit? They just weren't here. Wild turkeys, don't even go there. I didn't know anybody that hunted wild turkeys. There were no wild turkeys around here. So that was that never even dawned on me that there would be an opportunity for me to hunt wild turkeys here. I still remember the first day that I saw a wild turkey on the farm here. It's crazy. I mean, I was so awestruck when I saw it because it was something that it was always on TV. I never realized that there'd be a chance for that to happen here. So when people talk about the job that conservation organizations and hunter-sponsored organizations have done to improve the population and quality and the habitat for wildlife, I've seen it firsthand. When I talk to people that are my age or younger, either late onset hunters or they're just younger hunters, it doesn't resonate with them because they're walking into places that already have deer or turkeys and hunting. They don't recognize, or they don't have any basis for understanding that it wasn't always that way. And I guess that's why I feel so much more of a obligation to try to maintain and improve, actually not just maintain, but improve the habitat, the population, the health of the herd, whether that be deer or turkeys. Unfortunately, I find ourselves here on our farm now at a time where we are now surrounded by newcomers and people that own 2, 3, 4 acres, and they're giving hunting permission to people from in the city. And they're coming out here and they'll shoot 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 deer in a year. They do nothing to benefit the wildlife. They take for granted that this is here. They don't have that history, that relation with the land and the population, the deer population, turkey population, and know that it wasn't always that way. Yes, we're blessed that it is what it is. And I'm blessed that this past season was the highest deer numbers I've ever seen. But it may not always be that way. A few years ago, we had EHD come through and we lost about 40% of our deer herd here. If you still have people hunting around you continually taking that many deer while not doing something to either reduce their harvest numbers because the population is lower, or doing something to improve the habitat, the food source, the health, the overall population of the deer herd, turkey flock, you're going backwards. You're going backwards. So because of that, I'm going to try to do a better job this year of bringing to you everything we do here on the farm for our habitat management and wildlife management. To start off with, we did something this year, just a couple weeks ago, that we have not done here in over 50 years. And I cannot wait to see the results of that action. We've got several other things planned this year, but first we're going to roll in. We're going to get this thing started. I hope you come along with us, and maybe you can relate to this. If you can, drop a comment below. Let me know if you've been in a situation where you lived somewhere or you hunted somewhere where there was very low numbers and you've actually watched those numbers come up over the years. I think you have a greater appreciation for it than somebody that walks in and the numbers are already there. They probably think it's always been that way. And they probably don't really have the sense of, responsibility to try to help that population not just stay where it's at, but to increase and improve. So let's roll on in. Thank you so much for coming along. Hope you enjoy this habitat and wildlife management series this year. Let's go. All right, well, I kind of led into it a little bit. If you look over my shoulder, it looks kind of hazy off in the distance. Yeah, you can also see my breath as I'm talking, so one might think that that's just, a light mist of fog. It's actually smoke. We did a controlled burn here on the farm yesterday. It's the first controlled burn that we've done on the farm here in, according to my dad, at least 50 years. And I will say it was pretty intense. Tennessee's Department of Forestry came out and they ran the burn for me. They had some concerns because there was such a high fuel load. This was a pine thicket back here behind me. Pine beetles came through and decimated a large number of the trees. 15 years ago or so, there was a lot of dead, decaying pine, trees on the ground that's, really old. And then in the past year, the pine beetles have hit again and they've wiped out another huge section of pine trees. Well, those were all either standing or laying on the ground. There was an enormous amount of fuel here for the fire, but the plan was, let's get that all burned up, let's get the hillside burned off, and then maybe we can start over from scratch on the hillside with food plots and getting everything under control to try to maintain specific corridors of feeding areas, such as food plots or areas of fresh browse down in the pines, or then have bedding areas. So I maintain a section of the property here that I allow it to get kind of high. You can't really see it, but back off the edge over here, it's thick brambles and undergrowth that's over my head. And the thought process there is it allows for bedding for the deer. There's also another section of the farm over there that is mainly sage grass that I only mow it once a year. Well, in the fall season, the deer use that area for bedding, fall and winter, because this is a southeasterly facing slope on this hillside. When the sun comes up, it's the first spot that gets sunlight, so the deer will bed in that area on colder nights because they know they're going to get that, and they're sheltered from the north wind as well. So they know they're going to get that first of the morning sunlight to warm them up, and so I get a lot of deer activity on this hillside on cold mornings, in the colder season. So I'll say November through February, March time frame, there's a lot of deer bedding activity that happens on that hillside because of the exposure to the sunlight. Anyway, we're going to show you some more stuff we got going on. I got some clips of the controlled burn that I'm going to show you. I will say it was pretty intense. I told my manager yesterday, when I told him we were doing it, I said, on a scale of 1 to 10, my pucker factor was about a 43 because the flames were enormous at times coming out of these pines. In most places, the burn was over my head along the ground. The flames were at least 6 feet high along the floor of the pines, but then there were several places where it actually climbed the trees. And so the flames were 30, 40 feet in the air in some places. So it was quite the spectacle. We had a lot of traffic stopping by. Fire department came by a couple times, even though we had the permit in place and they knew we were doing the burn. Sheriff's department, 2 different counties of sheriff's department came through. We had 2 or 3 helicopters circling overhead watching this thing. It was crazy. It was obviously the spectacle to see, and I kind of expected it would be because it's not common that you have controlled burns in this area. But I'm going to roll in. We're going to show you some of the footage of that burn from yesterday, and then we'll pick it back up on the next stage for what we got going on here on the farm.